some major improvements within the administrative structure, but one of the things that we've identified that is really a problem is the facilities that we're all housed in and all of the appurtenances that go with it. Your parking lot is horrible. Betty and I talked about the facility out here that's pretty much condemned and has to be, you know, tore down and something else built. There was this process in the BIA called the Transportation Improvement Plan or Program. And BIA gets money and we contract for it based on the number of miles that we have roadways. Parking lots generally don't qualify, but sometimes you can get them in. So we've been walking through this process, or you have been in the past, where all of these roads projects have been prioritized. And because it's covered under the Code of Federal Regulations, 25 CFR, the branch of roads, what used to be the branch of roads and what we've contracted, they have to go through all of these bureaucratic processes in order to get a project funded. Now, I think that's a good approach because engineering is a very important aspect to our road systems and transportation systems. But when it comes to a parking lot and it gets thrown into that complicated system, we can be waiting anywhere from 2 to 3 to 5 years to get that parking lot done. So what I told staff to do, after learning this with the committee and being told this project was moving, is let's go find out what it costs to get this thing done first. Well, Paul Tillman came over today, actually yesterday, and measured it. And I've given, I guess, can I speak? I didn't get you one. I gave Benny, Lynn, and now John a copy of his report, and I'll just kind of hit the high points here. The area in front of the community center, starting at the south end of the sidewalk, where the pavement in front of the clinic is in good condition, the far south pavement. But north to the end of the community center and the language program is 18,500 square feet. At a cost of $350 a square foot, that's to tear it up, put the base down, regrade it, and asphalt it, would be about $58,275. Now, to do the area out in front of this building and up to the community center is 25,000 square feet. So that would be an additional $78,750 for a total of $137,025. What I told Benny tonight is I'm going to go back and I'm going to put together a rec sheet, try to identify funds where we can get this done. Now, I have to get this done. If we're going to do this, I have to get this going before it freezes, because as you know, and Edwin will tell you that pavement doesn't do so good in this problem. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of requests from the other districts. Well, you did that for Omak, now come take a look at ours. I've walked the campus, I've walked the Keller Community Center, I've been over to HLN. All the asphalt's falling apart. We have to come up with a plan.
Not like this though. I mean,
No.
This is like the worst.
Yeah,
It's a mess.
but we have to put in place a regular annual maintenance plan, not only for our roads, not only for our parking lots, but for our buildings.
Yeah.
I mean, go around the entire reservation. These buildings were here when I was here, in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. And they haven't been very well maintained. And my fear is, when I look at a liability, or a cost of $137,000, and one of you slip and fall out here and have a hip replacement or some other injury, I'm looking at an enormous liability. And so I'm going to be pushing to get these projects done. It's costing money. Our grant writers are working as hard as they can to find money. In fact, I talked to Smoker Marchand over at the gas station tonight, and he said we need to go to IHS and see if they have year-end funding, because that's how we did another parking lot, and there, of course there's a health facility there. So you have my commitment to be working on this project, but at the same time I want you all to know that we have got a major task in front of us with the amount of facilities we have and the work we have to do, because, and I'm not blaming anybody, because, you know, we just went through a recession and funding and all of this kind of stuff, but you know what? When you have those and you go 10 years without repairing, the job even gets more expensive and tougher.
It's really too bad we don't have our own asphalt machine, because we have all kinds of gravel.
That's true.
We don't have a crushing machine yet.
Yeah.
I had a question. One of the issues that was brought up, there's water lines and other things that
Could be
may
hit.
need to be maintenance or whatever.
Yeah.
Is there a way that we could, you know, for right now, we could use just ground up pavement to level it off, and then later on, if we need to, you know, adjust those things, fix the water lines, and then come through and pave that? I'm just thinking of other things that might remedy it right now.
Temporarily.
Well, and there are, I don't wanna go too far here, because, you know, some of the stuff I've talked to council members about, but I haven't completed. One of the things that I'm looking at in each of the districts is a facility, a new facility, that will house district council offices and provide adequate space to have meetings like this. Benny's already told me that the kitchen over here has been condemned, and we don't have those kinds of facilities. But, I mean, we have got to start replacing assets that are not worth repairing. One of the other statistics that came out that you'll hear at the general meeting, I'm sure, particularly from me, is that Kyle Dizitel, our planning director, went back to the latest census. And you'll kind of laugh about this, because Public Works runs out of money in May, April, and June, right? Well, there's no reason, I mean, there's no wonder. If you go to the census, 70%, 74% of the housing on the Colville Indian Reservation is 47 plus years old. Well, when you're trying to repair that kind of housing, you know, your budget is gonna get eaten up. We couldn't give him enough money. So Benny's committee has directed this administrative staff to put together a solution to our housing problems. And we're already gonna start it. Every time we acquire a vacant lot through credit or whatever, and we are going to put on that lot a manufactured home that's new. And there are gonna be maintenance requirements, there are gonna be rules as to when tribal members are renting them. We don't want any drug houses, all of those kinds of things, because, but the fact of the matter is, once we start changing that 47-year-old housing to new, it's gonna make a great impact. I mean, just take a look at the agency. You know, those are 1910, 1920 houses, and people are still living in some of them. What are we doing? Those should have been never rented out again. And vacant lots where there's city water and sewer, so that your cost is down, bring on a nice modular, not modular, but manufactured home. And it's also our hope that somewhere down the road, that we can get Precision Pine back up doing dimensional lumber, get our own company going up to where we manufacture our own manufactured homes. I always say that if the non-Indian can do it and has to pay income tax, we ought to be able to do it better and make more money in, because we don't have to pay income tax. So, and that promotes jobs, but.
I was wondering if you pave this out here, is there some way that you can, because we're gonna need a guard shack, because of the language program, the IHS, the housing of the people in TANF, and this facility in the senior site, and then the gym, when they get this gym running, we're gonna need somebody on duty. We're gonna need cover 24-hour shifts for somebody, one person, 3 people, it's 9 people, put 9 people to work out here to guard this acreage.
Well, that was one of my concerns about what John was saying about, because the water goes this way, the sewer goes this way, and there's God knows what wires are out there. To not pave it and just put the subbase down and then gravel it. I'm a little bit concerned that if we do that and we don't have security out here and proper lighting, you know, we're gonna have people coming in and tearing up, and we're gonna be grading
Yeah.
every week.
Liability problem.
Yeah, so Paul and I's approach is to try and, find out where the water lines are. And it was a concern of mine initially, it still may be once we dig things up and find out, because nobody really has the right plans, but, is if we can get this going and get it paid by November and not have a problem, we're okay. You can always cut, into the pavement and then hot seal it afterwards, and you still have a good time, but I think we wanna get the project completely done. But-
Just for a little history on this, and you guys are being way too nice on Francis. I promised him that I had all my cronies set up, and he did. Ask you guys, he's coming with a list, and I'll hand it out as he came
It
in.
appears I have a better rapport with you.
Ouch.
You did get here before I did, so. But anyways, it's not too hard to find out where the water is. All you gotta do is follow the patch lines.
Yeah,
That's
that's
one
true.
thing. The other thing is I've been working on this project since last year when I become the community development chairperson, and I've run into a lot of obstacles, and I felt like you know, we had behavioral health, we had the senior meal site, we had the center language program, it was TANF, IHS. I felt like all the people that were coming for service were you know, about bouncing through there off the road when they come through here. I know I was having denture problems, and I was having a hard time. But it was very disturbing to me there's that many people that we serve with all the data that we have, that we weren't making much progress on trying to fix the problem. And I'd actually come over a couple times and taken pictures with my iPad, and I actually come through in my truck one day, and I set my iPad up as I'm going in first gear, and you know, I mean, it was hard to keep the thing steady. But I think it's a need that we have in our district, and I just want you guys to know that I'm fighting really hard to get that fixed. I was trying to work with the DOT, and like Francis said, there was a lot of reasons, or you know, whatever, that it wasn't getting done. And I want to see it done, and I feel that that'll provide a better service for our people. You got people going to the clinic, they're probably injured maybe, and you got to bounce across that. I just didn't think it was very healthy. And
Horrible with
so,
the back problem.
you know, I'm glad that me and Francis he worked with me, and so we're pushing this project forward now. We're trying to find out how we're going to pay for it. You know, maybe a suggestion to Francis is we work with the city, because I think the city's the one that's been coming in and tearing up fixing on the water lines. And maybe we can work with them, and I don't know if we can split costs. Maybe they can clean the system out, repair it, whatever. I know we haven't got much time, but I don't like the fact of paving something and then us doing patchwork, because then in 3, 4, 5 years we're going to look the same. But I appreciate his hard work and his consistency on trying to, you know, be a help and guide and providing the service for our community, for our elders, all the people that utilize these programs. And it's been a pet peeve of mine, and I've been stressed about it and struggling with it, but I think we're
This
making
is the nicest I've
progress.
ever heard Benny with Francis. He's actually been just advocating and beating on Francis. And
Do
it's
that, encourage.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just like, I wanted
Please.
the people to know, you know, Benny this has been a huge issue, and it wasn't a top priority, and it wasn't an agenda item for the Department of Transportation that we have. And actually, without Benny's aggressiveness, that wouldn't be here.
That's right.
Well,
What do you want to do, Benny? Exactly.
I think his tires are already flat.
Okay, I'm going home with you. What's for dinner?
But on Lynn's point, once we go into that chambers, he's no longer my uncle.
Yeah.
He didn't know he is my uncle, and I don't tell too many people that, but we're off record, so
I knew it.
I'll admit it.
I'll tell you right now, I'd never treat my uncle that way. Yeah.
He continually, though, leaves off that I'm his elder.
Elder uncle.
So one of the things I do wanna, thank Benny for pushing this and continue, because we're gonna take no for an answer. And I'm glad, Francis, had Paul come over and take a look at this and get this done. But I also wanted to thank Benny and the administration for bringing together that meeting that we had concerning housing. And it was a really good meeting, because we had everybody around that table, all the different programs that some way could affect housing. And we need to keep that group meeting, keep it going, because that people need homes. We need safe homes. So
I got a question too, and it's clear off different subject at all. Is there anything going on with helping the people that had damage to their roofs?
Oh, from that windstorm that just
Yes.
happened.
Oh, here in Omak.
Yes.
Was it there,
Yes,
the
there is.
emergency
There,
grant?
It's on the website.
Is it?
That's right.
Yeah, but
I can't remember what's-
They told me go to
Exactly.
What is it?
That's right.
Here,
Just call enrollment.
Tosha.
But it was
I called
for-
in, they said there's nothing they can do.
Well, what's the
Is it
exact
because
name? I
live
can't think
on-
of it. I saw it too.
Oh, you live on the other side of the river?
I live up by Ace Hardware.
Oh, that might be it.
They can still call enrollment and get the information and they can.
I did, I mean, that's where I faxed it all to enrollment 2 weeks ago, and I
See-
called her this week, and she says, well,
I
let
think
me
that,
talk to
I have to
my-"
tell you, I think that's the problem, because I, of course, live in the north half, and I had wind damage from the one that, when Keller got damaged. And we were told to come down here, and give them numbers, and we did. And because of that, we got cut out of Ferry County, because we applied here and we got that. And now-
Well, you know, I had insurance, but it's $1,000 deductible.
Ooh.
$1,000.
I'll check on that for you, and I'll get back to you, but I'm almost positive that, because the FEMA
You know,
money
it
that
is
comes
so
in is
unfair
more.
though, that you live so close to the reservation and they will not help an elder. You live on a fixed income.
Could you run through the process again of what people should do to apply for support for that? Just a reminder.
I think there's an application form
Well,
on
there's
the
a thing
website.
on the internet, and
Yeah.
that's what I went by.
Yeah, so
Through
that's the
enrollment.
process, there's an application.
And they faxed me one
Oh.
from Steele.
Well, that's interesting, I'm gonna check on that, because why would they fax you one, and why would they tell you to do that if they knew you were all done?
Well, we didn't, what you call it, Laverne Gore even put me to call for Tosha. And he said they didn't do it, but Merle Allen told me that's not true. They were at his house the next day.
And Burville lives off the rest?
No, he lives on the
Oh, okay.
You know what?
Do you know who you talked to?
Is there a Shelby in enrollment?
Oh, in enrollment?
That's where the
That's
grant
where you go.
application is.
Oh, is
yes,
it? Oh,
yeah.
okay, I thought it was Tosha, okay. Oh,
Well, Tosha, Lisa Adolph, she faxed all the names from the senior center over to her, and then she went to Tosha.
okay, so I will check on this for you. You got a contact number?
My phone number is 322-7799.
Seven seven nine nine.
Darn it.
It's so scary
Should've
that
hit
we're.
pause. It's on the Facebook now.
You know, on this housing issue, I think there isn't a person in this room that can deny that we're so far behind on our housing. That's one of the other things that I've been really trying to work on for the reservation for our people. And we actually called a meeting on the community development committee. We had, I'm not sure how many programs we had in there, but we had over 21 people in this meeting. And what we're planning, and all of us are working on, we're trying to get all the programs to come in and give a list of all the criteria, all the services, the funding, all different opportunities that they have, so that when any one of you walk into this, you grab this brochure, somebody will sit there and help you with it. Instead of going here, there, here, and getting a runaround, you go to one place. This fits your income, this fits your criteria, this is who you need to go talk to. And so that we can speed up that process. And we've had 2 meetings, and we're gonna have another meeting next Friday. I think we're gonna have a councilman's meeting instead. But they're working on it. We're also working on these FEMA homes. We missed out on an opportunity this summer to get on the list and order some more FEMA homes. You know, we had a couple success stories. We had, I think, one in the Spelum and one in Keller, to where they actually got 2 of the FEMA homes. And they're newer models, they're single wides, they got like 3 bedrooms, I think it's 1 bath, they're fully furnished, stove, oven, washer, dryer, everything that you need to just move in. And my goal is, and I've been talking with Smoker and he's helping me with this, is that by the time next year comes and we order more FEMA homes, we want different areas, whether it's mobile home parks or whatever, we want them set in place with infrastructure, with concrete pads, all these things, so that when we go and pick those up, wherever it's at, North Dakota was last time, instead of dropping them off at the Nispelum Center and then we're trying to figure out, you know, more costs and all this, I want them to be able to go from point A, go right up to these people's, whether individual allotments, whether they're mobile home parks. You pull up on the concrete, you put it there, you go talk to Dorothy Palmer and Light, you get your skirting, all that kind of stuff, so that people are ready to move in now. And you know, I get the calls all the time about people. You know, I got a family, mother and a father with 5 kids that live in a storage shed, and they lived in the storage shed all last winter. And you know, I take that personal. You know, just like the discussion we had earlier about suicide and things, and so. We're trying to chip away, and I'm not gonna let the ball drop, and as long as I'm the community development chair, I assure the committee and all the programs that, you know, I'm gonna be on them, you know, and we're gonna make sure and keep making progress. And before I quit and let Lana take over, anybody that you know that's looking for a home that's interested in a FEMA home, you call Smoker Marchand. He's got his own application. You gotta go through all the steps, and then once you get that done, then your application is complete and you're accepted. So that way, when next year comes and we want to order more homes, we can order more. We know exactly what our number is. So we're preparing for it. If you know anybody, like I said, that's homeless, or you know, 3, 4 families living in one home, get a hold of him, get on that list, and when next year comes, hopefully we can serve you.
And it's critically, Benny's right, apply now if you want one, because in order to, when we go get those trailers to go from there to the site where the pads are, there's a lot of work that has to get done. The pads have to be laid, the power has to be there, the water has to be there. Because you're not gonna get approval if you make application and those services are not available to the site.
How much do those cost, these?
Yes.
I think, what did the tribal members get them for, like $6,500?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
You mean the trailers?
The FEMA's. How much was it?
Someone told me 5,000.
Was it 5,000?
Well, I didn't know you had to pay anything for them. What you
Oh,
have to,
those 2 weren't?
no, if they're FEMA homes, you have to
Pay for transportation.
pay for the transportation, pay for the pads, pay for the electrical and the plumbing. Now, you
Just
can
set
go
up
to
your
tribal programs if you're income eligible, and they'll help you on some of those things. But if you're not income eligible, that doesn't make you not eligible for getting a FEMA home.
So we're trying to address different circumstances so that you don't have to be just low income and qualify for a HUD. You know, we gotta have middle class and maybe some of the upper class people, so that we're serving more people, not just the ones. Because in my opinion, if you're telling them you gotta be at a low income, in my opinion, you're inspiring them to not wanna get a job. You know, and if they get a job, well, then we gotta hide from HUD, and we can't tell them that, you know, all of our families living in here, and I don't really like that. I want to inspire people to better themselves and be able to be more self-sufficient. And so we're exploring other opportunities, and anybody has different ideas, you know, let us know.
Are they building those homes up at Homestead Trailer Park there?
What's that?
Are they building those
What was that?
homes by Homestead?
Yeah, they're sounding
No.
really, you couldn't believe.
I don't think
They're
we
waiting
have
for
you say
it.
about
funding.
building?
They're waiting for funding.
You said
But
something
they are
about
moving
building.
forward with the
Oh.
community center out there. She's asking about out here at Eagle's Nest, used to be called Lovejoy.
Yes.
And it's all fenced off. They had enough money to put in the lighting, the paving, and I think the infrastructure, I imagine. And they've got enough funding now to move forward with the community center. It's gonna have a kitchen and all these kinds of things for the kids out there. And I think they're applying for another grant or new market, what do you call it?
Market tax credit.
And so it's in the works.
But it'll all go back up again after they clean it all out.
Yeah, well, they'll handle it. You know, if I could say one thing too that I'm really happy about and proud that our tribe did is we had an elderly lady over at Elmer City and her house, lost her house, it burnt down. She actually, I got a phone call one morning and from a concerned tribal member that she's a co-worker, and she says, you know, this elder, she's a very respected lady. She has no place to live. She lost all of her belongings. She has nothing. And it was actually Community Development Day. And I said, you know what, can you get her here today at the meeting? She said, I'll call you back. So she calls me back, gets this lady, brings her in. I called in Brooke Kristovich, the CIHA housing manager, and we explored options. And we were able to work with Brooke, and I have to commend him. He's very respectful, and you know, but he also has a job to do. And we were able to move that lady, that homeless lady, from Elmer City over here to Omak to get into one of the HUDs, and so she's no longer homeless. And you know, I take tremendous pride in that, and the committee and my co-workers and Brooke for, you know, but we can't help everybody, but I think one success story is the beginning, and it's just going to continue to grow. So.
I was gonna say on the, you know, when you're talking about low income, you know, these guys that work at the, you know, at Mill Day and at casinos, you know, that's, these guys, you know, it's like they have to have two people working to, you know, to survive. And this is the people you guys should point these funeral homes to, because they're having a tough time.
Right.
Really good point. Working class poor is the people who work at our casinos.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but the wages it's just not acceptable, in my opinion.
Well, let's talk councilman wages.
Yeah.
Cut it by 10% at least.
Cut it in half.
Okay, I'm sorry, Lana, you have the floor. Lana, please respect Lana.
I was gonna ask you, what about these homes that were built like in 1920s? If they're not, I mean, people are living in one, but I know it was built a long time ago because I used to go there and party. You know, and I know it's been there since East Side came up. It's over there on Dayton Street.
You know, it probably comes down to finding the funding. And
They're tribal, the lady's a tribal member.
Right. But some of these old homes that are condemned, that sometimes you get people that have been living there for so long, they don't want to leave. That's one issue. The other issue is sometimes you have asbestos and mold in there. So it's not like you just grab an excavator and tear it down and haul it to the dump. There's a procedure and process, so it's very expensive. But we're totally aware of that. There's a lot of them on East Side over here, and it's in the air, it's in the surface. And one other story that I want to say is that Diana Sampson, I think it is, and what's her mate's name? Her husband, or whoever she lives with?
Her nephew.
Her nephew?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they were living, Smoker had, I think, was it Paul Tillman, I think it was, he sent them down there to do an inspection on their house, and they said that the conditions of the home, and maybe I shouldn't have said names, I apologize, but it was very, very, what word do you want to say, it was uninhabitable, I should say. And so we had these two other homes sitting in the Spelum, and the FEMA homes that I've been talking about. And so what we're doing now is as a tribe, Francis has given him the permission to go ahead and take one of them FEMA homes and haul it down to them so that they can improve their living conditions.
This is a good thing. I mean, that was a priority we all had.
That makes me feel good that they're gonna get a newer home, and you know, we can't help everybody, like I said, and you know, everybody has a circumstance, but as we
She's
just
an
keep chipping
elder,
away.
she's disabled.
Yeah.
She's
Can't
on-
see.
That's what I mean by being
The
disabled.
foundation, I'm thinking about the foundation, because it has a basement and it's all concrete. I'm thinking about the foundation for the FEMA home and the foundation for the original house. Is there some way you could?
Down here,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they're going to put it next to it and then demolish the home or not. Smoker's been the one that's been tackling that, but it is moving forward, and they got permission to get a home, and it's just, I think he's run into some kind of roadblocks with, I don't know if it's
It's what the old,
So
it's
proud of
the
him.
probate ownership,
probate ownership.
but he's working through it.
Yeah.
We're trying to get a lease.
And I have to commend Smoker because for some reason, there's certain programs that they don't qualify for, and Smokers took it upon himself and said that he's gonna get a team of volunteers. We're gonna get the equipment down there, and we're gonna go down, and everyone's gonna volunteer, and we're gonna do what we gotta do, and because they don't qualify for certain programs
That's
for
right.
whatever reason. But it's
Done.
gonna make it happen, so I think
It's a
that's pretty
community,
Yes.
community,
I
yeah.
often wonder
plan,
how our
project.
ancestors survived in those teepees. Traveling around, going to the different campsites and set up their teepee, and then, oh, how did they
I
do
know, I
it?
told my grandma I would have never made it.
That's why they're so strong.
So when Becky said we should, council should all live in a teepee, there was.
Hey, I apologize. I need to apologize to Stina. That's what I was referring to.
So do you guys have any further questions for Francis?
Oh, what was you were saying, what I wanted to ask is you said you were gonna have groundbreaking for the new casino. Is that still gonna happen
Probably in the spring.
in the spring? Oh, okay, that's what I was wondering.
Where's the new casino gonna be?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, the heck of-
And I wanted to ask this while you were
They
here.
say south of Omak, that's about it.
Just south of Tribal Trails, you go across the overpass or the
Is
underpass.
it
It's on the
Delta?
left,
No,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
no.
Up on the hill.
In your housing discussions, did they discuss about individual home sites doing maybe homes totally out of concrete other than using, like total wood? Because some of those halfway buried homes are really economic, because you don't use all the energy as a normal home, wood home that's above, above ground. And I think that'd be a good economic way to put some of our people into those type of homes, because of the fact that they don't have to move around so much and to take care of people that got arthritis, stuff like that. It'd be a good home for them.
Especially as you move east into REA, when you use REA for your power.
That's right.
You get a more energy efficient home that's gonna help them out.
John's the energy guy on our.
Oh, is he?
I
I'm not gonna
I love energy efficient homes.
I wanna ask
Soot
about the
panels.
senior site facility. Where's that at?
The next step.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
Thank you, I almost got out of here.
Actually, I inquired about this yesterday to Paul Tillman, and he come driving up and Francis was standing there, and I said, you know what, I gotta face my elders tomorrow, I wanna know where we're at with the senior meal site. And where we're at is that there's been a contract awarded, I believe it's to Warman Associates. It's written in the contract that they have to report to the elders are gonna have input in this, and so once they get through the paperwork, and correct me at any time, Francis, then they're gonna be coming and meeting with you guys, setting up meetings, so you guys will have your input. They'll get the architect and engineer and design, and we're hoping to be breaking ground in the spring.
Is that awesome?
Yes.
That is awesome.
I hope they let the cooks design the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Where's it gonna be at?
The cooks are the ones that have to work in there.
She asked where the facility's gonna be, and long story short, the elders probably end up doing 4 different votes on 4 different locations, correct, Liz?
Yeah.
And I told them I wasn't going to face my elders again and tell them they had to re-vote again. Because it's already been like, I said, here I'm trying to build trust with my elders, and you send me in there to this, not wolves, but these people that are, we are in dire need of a new senior meal site. So after about the 3rd or 4th time, they voted on over here behind Kate's and Herb, where that's all fenced off there. And it went to a vote, council had no input on where it was gonna go. Part of the reason that they chose that area is because the water and sewer and infrastructure in the city is already there, so we figured we'd save a ton of money doing that. And like I said, council had no input on it. We had some meetings over to senior mill site. We brought in planning, we brought in Smoker, Paul Tillman, Connie Davison, and there was quite a few of us, and then he gave all the options, and then the elders did a vote. But after they voted on that, and I already told you, I was tired of going and made it look like I was a liar to the elders. Come to find out through the BA process or whatever, that site was actually bought by housing, I don't know, 20 years ago. And
Oh,
that,
no, you didn't tell us that.
no, I think I did, but
I kind of remember
I
that.
slid right through it. Anyways, what happened was housing owned it, but they used the tribe's name, but used housing funding. And so, can't remember who it was, went and communicated with, No Smoker, I think it was, went and talked to Brooke. And Brooke said, you know what, man, you guys elders over there deserve that. You guys go ahead and have it. And so it's still moving forward, so that's,
So that's
Right by the track.
train tracks?
Yeah.
yeah.
That's, if they get robbed over here, what's gonna be like over there?
Ah,
We're gonna have a big 16-foot fence around it.
With the little electrical thing.
That's
Yeah.
Well, they're gonna have a high-tech security.
Yeah, back in that back
Lights
part,
all
that's
over
not
the
good.
parking lot.
How many, there was probably, what, 25 elders that voted on it, I
At
think,
least,
right?
we went and looked at all these places and we liked the place right inside where Viles and Coleman was. We went in, there was all nice and empty and as soon as we wanted it, they ran over to the tribe day or so before us and asked for it.
No,
Actually, that was a plan a long time, it was years ago plan.
Actually,
I mean,
what
that's
we-
what they said, years and years,
No,
but then.
actually what happened is it's been planned for a lot of years, and that's where our industrial park's gonna go. And so they're gonna utilize the railroad to come in, they're gonna do bulk fuel, and we're gonna have all these different people coming in manufacturing.
We didn't want the elders in the middle of that.
I didn't really think the elders would wanna be right next to the mill.
Right.
Yeah, it was really,
That made me
it was
really
pretty back
concerned.
there.
Yeah,
Back
it's
there.
like
I think part of that was originally because it was classified as Class B. The Class
Heavy
B, the Class B commercial site has contaminants on it, and maybe a low level, but you can't have human traffic involved, so it's an environmental impact.
didn't want to go
No
down
ball.
right now.
Oh, really?
I said, "Why not?"
Yeah,
Francis
so,
has to drive far. Be careful.
Thank you all for that thought. I just want to thank you for inviting me over here. My number, call me anytime you have an issue.
One more thing.
Okay.
oh,
You live in Keller, why don't you go with me? You can drive.
I was amazed today when I checked my Facebook to see if anything new came up.
uh-oh.
And I saw that picture of our chairman. And I don't
Yep.
know who was with him and who put that picture out there. But, I mean, what stays in Vegas is supposed to stay there. What happens there stays there.
not when you got
It isn't.
pictures. They didn't stay
And I
there.
wanna know, did we have to pay for all that stuff?
No, he saved his money.
There's-
The only response that I got is that was brought to my attention today.
Oh,
I can't say whether or not it was even in Vegas. I don't know if it was a recent picture. I don't know if it was an old picture. I can't really answer that.
He was partying around. And we're paying for that, he's using our money to do that, is that right or no?
It's not right.
He's using his own.
I have no idea. Like I said, I have no idea. And as embarrassing it is for you, it's just as much embarrassing as it is
It
to
isn't
us.
embarrassing to me.
This was sent to
it's
me
just
today,
like,
and it's been sent to
I think it would be
everybody.
embarrassing to his family
Is that what you're talking about?
in Inchland,
Yeah.
his wife and his kids. But if we're paying for him to go out and party around, any of you, when you go somewhere, is that what happens then?
We have a resolution. The resolution says that if any of us on delegation drink
Mm-hmm.
in any way, I mean, alcohol is prohibited for any of us on delegation. We made a commitment to that. It wasn't a majority vote, it was a 6-5 vote, but we won, we made a commitment. So if we make a choice and engage in alcohol or unethical behaviors, that is behavior that can have formal ethics charges according to our resolution. So that's, we're as shocked as you are. The communities are letting us all know this and sending the pictures to us. We're embarrassed, we don't know, but we have no proof that it was in Vegas, that it is not an old picture of something. We don't know, we can't verify anything. But we're as disturbed as you are, we just.
Boy,
had
in
to
Head
sit
Start, you gotta sign a contract, you can't drink at all.
That's exactly right, Head Start you can, but guess what,
Yeah, believe it, if
council
they catch you, you're
hasn't,
fired.
council's never had that until.
Public
we
servants aren't
just-
supposed to do that.
But that's not our tribal public servant.
I'm just wondering,
Hot seat.
is that what will you guys take per diem and whatever expenses?
I just
on
hope that
our-
you don't
your
compare the
tribal
rest
credit
of us
cards?
to what you seen in that picture. I
Right.
hope you don't compare us to the same. I
No,
can't.
I'm not,
I
I'm
can't
just
speak
saying
on
all
behalf of
14
you.
of you.
That's right. But I can only speak on my own behalf. I'm not gonna speak on behalf of what you see there. When you go to the general
Tell you
membership
what, we
meeting,
take a
that'll be the
beating for
perfect
this
time
kind
for
of
you to
stuff all the
question
time.
That just I know, there's a history of that going on, there was a history. And when a few of us went over to the cut chambers, and that's when Jude and Dave were there, we went and wanted them to have drug tests and no alcohol on the reservation. I have never seen anybody get so mad as Jude. You try and do a drug test on me? I don't think so. I mean, that's how bad it got. I mean, things were bad, especially when Clint Nicholson got hurt out there at the mill. When he got hurt out there at the mill, he was high and he's working and walking on top of lumber and he got hurt. And he could have died and nobody would have known he could have got hurt really bad and he could have died, but he didn't. And that's when we decided no more drugs, or we need drug testing on the jobs, for the jobs, on the job, especially with that kind of job. We need people to be drug tested, drug-free, we need an alcohol-free deal. And we went to the council in hopes that they would see why we needed this.
Lana?
We don't want to lose our people. We lost a lot of people to drugs and alcohol.
We have drug tests for all employees. We have, and that's with the enterprises and that's with the tribe. Drug tests for council, we have drug tests. This is an incident that happened and we don't know, there's no verification. We understand your frustration, we have the same feeling, we're embarrassed, but we can't prove that that's even real. So we just wanna make sure that, you know.
Thanks, Francis.
Thank you.
And Francis wants to stay out of this because it's his bosses.
I'd like to say something on
It's
that.
going on forever.
It has.
It's going on forever.
It has, but now we have a resolution that says it's not okay. We have a we've never had a resolution that says that when you drink, when you are on your work time, and you're getting paid to do this work, then drugs, alcohol is out. That's what we're saying, it's not tolerated, it's not gonna be tolerated.
Yeah, I used to fly back and forth to my staff, you know, when I worked for Bechtel and all the big corporations, and I'd run into my tribal councilman flying here and there, and I'd have a drink with them.
Yep.
So, you know, it don't mean that drinking is bad if you're socially, you can handle the thing. And at that time, the tribal councilmen who were traveling weren't making no big scenes because they were having a drink. And so I don't, you know, there's some things, you just have to have good rules and regulations, and the people should be credible enough to live up to those rules and regulations. And the past councilmen that I'm talking about were well respected in our tribe.
Well, your council do represent, how many people on the reservation? Yeah, okay, so, but this is, that's only the remark that I would say, that you do represent a lot of people on the reservation. And the elders are, you know, especially the elders, they're watching your move, every move you make.
So are our
They know.
children, which is
But my question is not that, I just wanted to find out. I do know, the reason why I asked about the casino, I've kind of studied a couple other casinos and how they came about. And the elders I think it was mostly the elders along this one, the way I understood. They became involved in building this special casino. And I think that us people, we have a lot of people on our reservation, I realize that. And I don't know how many elders we have. But I think that this building is going to represent your area here a lot. And I think it would be good for the elders to become involved with you all. And then I also wanted to ask you one question. I don't know if it's ever been brought to you before. And I realize there again, we have a lot of people on our reservation. And it's different than from these other areas, but is there any possible way, once this large casino gets up and running and is doing real well, that it cannot have a stipend that would come out to the elders? If it's not monthly, if it could be quarterly, same way with the other tribal members on the whole reservation. That's including Cooley Dam, this one, and Mill Bay. I don't see why it can't.
I'm not sure that I can answer why it hasn't.
I know,
hasn't
that's
ever.
a big question.
But how it's set up right now with the corporation is that 80%,
Exactly.
they get their gross revenue, they do all their expenditures and payroll and all these things, whatever, all the things right off the top. Whatever's left, the tribe gets 80%, they keep 20%. And I wish Francis would have been here to answer the question about per capita, but this came up last year in the other admin, and it was something about, and maybe John knows more about this than I do, is that the money is in trust or it's not in trust. And something in our gaming compact that we have with the state of Washington won't allow us to pay it out as per capita.
There's a tribe over on the coast that, you know, they accept that tax, like the elders. Of course, they get, you know, there's not as many, but they accept it because they said, we'll pay it. That's part of our income.
So is it
So
more of a
they pay
per capita that you're asking for, or is it
Well,
or
like,
per capita
yeah,
from the
like a per
casino?
capita or a stipend, you know, because a lot of our people are hurting in the worst way. Our elders, a lot of them are, you know, they just barely get by.
You know,
And then down to the young ones that are caught between a rock and a hard place, like you're talking about this, what we discussed earlier, you know, the drug and alcohol abuse. Well, maybe there's some way that this little bit of income might help lift their spirits somehow. But, you know, there again, maybe not.
You know,
You know,
I look at it a little differently.
uh-huh,
And you look all the young kids, how many there is compared to your elders.
right.
And all the ones that have a problem. I like to see the elders get their fair share, but the same way, I like to see the kids' programs and stuff move forward.
Right.
I voted at this last one, 2 meetings ago, not to, for the kids.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And I think it should be that way. When there's a lot more kids, you take care of what the more of you.
Right.
And I agree with the elders need to share, but I think the kids should come first.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when it comes down to per capita, and you know, the history of when we used to get them big per capitas was all coming
Yeah.
out of stumpage, right? So we know the logging market crashed, our mill shut down. We're moving progress forward now. We've got this 25-year lease with Atlas. They're just getting up and running. Council's been talking, they're looking at possibly next year, late fall or something. It's just possible, no promise, that out of the stumpage coming into the tribe that we may be able to give out per capitas because it's trust income coming from our natural resources.
Well, I was speaking to a young lady out at the Quest, and she thought I was Kalispell, and I says, no, I'm Colville. And I says, well, I said, how do you do your revenue off of your casino? She says, oh, my grandma sits on a board when this casino was built. And she sat on the board for the development of everything. And they had them involved, elders, which is, to me, is really good because you're being involved with your council and your, you know, whoever's in charge of your reservation. And I don't know how many council they have out there, but you know, she was very informative to me, you know. And she thought I was Kalispell. I said, no,
Well,
you know.